Hey everyone, welcome to the first episode of Grow Your Tutor Business with me, Richard Cowell. Now, you have a special guest today called Rachael Benton, or Mrs. B, who's going to share her story all about having a supportive family, supportive colleagues, however, still that reality check of the general ups and downs of being a teacher. And Rachel's going to tell us how she moved away from being a teacher and how she grew her tutoring business. Loads of takeaways today. Get your pencil and pad ready and let's jump straight to the good stuff. Okay, thank you, Rachael, for agreeing to do this. I'm really happy to have you as like number one person on the vlog. I think you had a lot to offer. Like we've met once before. Well, not met, but we had a chat online once before. It's really, yeah, virtual meeting. It was really interesting to hear your journey, particularly through the pandemic. I mean, for the sake of like for the people in the group and for anybody watching, might be new to the group because this could still be accessed sort of in years and years from now. It'd be great to get to know you a little. I know a lot about you already. It'd be good for everybody kind of watching or listening to get to know a little bit more about Rachael and kind of what led you to this point. So tell us a little bit about when you first knew you wanted to be a teacher. When did that first come into your head?
Way back when honestly can say when I pretty much when I started school, from primary school, I had some amazing teachers. You know, when you reflect and you think back to who really kind of ignited that in me, and why as well. You know, and there's things like memories from what was second year juniors, as it was when I was at school, was a teacher called Mr. Fitzpatrick. And I'll tell this story to so many people. We had it was like a school open day, which we used to do as well a lot. And that sort of doesn't go on so much now, does it? Just to showcase your work that you've done. And we constructed some traffic lights. And I think from what I can remember, we kind of got like a road that we'd made on the classroom floor. And I can't remember the link. It might have been a science project or something. And we decided that we wanted these traffic lights to be working. And my dad, as a car mechanic, has always worked for himself. And I'd said to Mr. Fitzpatrick, I could get a car battery off my dad and we'd set up these traffic lights to work. And he jumped on board with this and he absolutely loved it. And he just was so enthusiastic with things like that and things that we used to do as a class. And he just made learning fun. And I think like from back then, really, that was when it sort of started. And then another teacher in my last year at junior school, interestingly, another male teacher, Mr. Bullis, who bless him is no longer with us, was another amazing teacher, very old school, very strict, but just had some brilliant knowledge that he would share and stories to tell, you know. So that engagement from teachers that I probably have always wanted to emulate myself.
That's really interesting. There's two things actually, probably quite very two different styles of teaching.
Yeah.
Like that one where someone just grabs the enthusiasm at the right time, with the right hook, and you just happen to have that material. Like I've got a battery, we can use it, and then they run with it, and then everybody runs with that passion and that enthusiasm around that one topic, which is amazing, isn't it? And then you've got this other person who's maybe quite strict, quite firm. And I'm not saying not as engaging, but that word story, like tell a good story, storytelling, and how important that is for all of us anyway. But as teachers, if you've got someone in like that grasp of your hand, like that, where everyone's waiting on every word, that's a special aura, isn't it? It's kind of a bit different. So, Okay, so really inspired. I mean, in terms of you've named two teachers. Were there anybody else like outside of school, like maybe not a teacher, but also kind of prompted?
Gosh, it probably was, you know, but I can't think off the top of my head. I know I'd got a couple of friends at high school whose parents were teachers, so maybe the kind of the status that it was, I would say, I think that's changed now. I don't know if that's because I'm a teacher, do you? But I think, you know, as we were growing up back then, if you got a friend or you knew someone whose parents were teachers, it was, you know, it was really sort of respected, wasn't it? And not saying that we as teachers aren't now, but I just think it was different then. As a child or a young person growing up, when you think, well, what do I want when I'm older? I want that really nice house and I want to have a really nice car and be able to go on lovely holidays abroad and, just a different sort of way of living, I guess, wasn't it? And then perhaps that was also something subconsciously probably now that you've asked me.
Okay, well, look, your journey into teaching started at a very young age,
very young,
right? So you had really that decision into.
It never altered either, Richard. It never changed. I never changed my mind.
So when you were sort of going through secondary school and coming out the other side, and did you do A levels?
Yeah, so there's another story. So
I love it.
I did A levels. I stayed on in sixth form because, want to be a teacher. So I knew exactly the path I'd got to take. Turned 17 and got myself a boyfriend, didn't I? So, that's all I was interested in. A levels went out the window and I literally failed them all. So I was saying this to my friend's daughter actually the other day. She's just about to start at uni, but not teaching. But I was saying to her, like, A levels, so difficult, such a really hard thing to do. But once you've got through it, you realise it's the hardest thing, in my opinion, that you'll ever study. I haven't got a master's or anything, so I don't know, that degree level. But with what I've studied, so I had to take a bit of a sidetrack. Still wanted to teach until I'd finished then college. 2 years after sixth form, I went to college and I did a BTEC in early childhood studies. So that was going to be like my path to get into uni. But of course, I'd got no A levels. I'd got these equivalent, like it was an equivalent to 2 A levels, I think, the BTEC that I did. But then by the time I'd finished college, I was 20. I'd been working part-time just at the local supermarket for 4 years. A lot of my friends were either at college, university, or had got jobs. And I wanted to be out in the world working. So I got a job in a nursery and I worked as a nursery nurse, as I was qualified as then, for a number of years. Going off the beaten track of where we're going here with the tutoring business. Well, basically, a little bit of a circle. I did 12 months working in a nursing home because I needed an excuse to get out of the nursery I was in, because it was a private nursery and they were using me basically as a 20-year-old young woman. So was going to go into nursing. That's the only time I kind of went, right, not teaching, but that it was just an excuse to get out of where I was working at the time. Loved the care work I did because I think I've got a caring nature, so it was going to work anyway. But a friend of mine worked in a school nursery 12 months on, asked me if I knew of anybody that would be interested to get into the school because I didn't. And I was like, hang on a minute here, I could try this and get back in. So I did. Then worked in another school nursery. The teacher I worked with there encouraged me to resit my A level. So I went to night school and I did my English A level. So I then got
How old were you?
24. Was the year my mum turned 50. It was her 50th birthday and I got my A level result. I passed my English, but I got a D, so I had to go through clearing. So I'd now got my BTEC, which was the 2 A levels, and my English A level. And I managed to get into our local university, which was Wolverhampton. Then I did a 3-year BEd. And then eventually, at the age of 27, graduated and got to where I didn't think I would for a little while. But so it all worked out.
Did you go straight into teaching?
Yes. Yeah, I got a
PGCE?
No, I did my BEd in primary education.
Okay.
Yeah, so got a job at a school where I'd had a teaching placement. The teacher that I had sort of worked under, she was my mentor. She was leaving, so she put me in touch with the school to say, get yourself in there, get your CV in, get yourself, interviewed and stuff. And got a job. I took 12 months temporary contract, and that was it. They didn't want to know the NQTs. There were 3 of us. It was then supply for a little while, and then eventually I got a permanent job where I was for 6 years. I think had both my girls when I was there, so I had 2 maternity leaves.
Okay.
My head wouldn't let me have part-time, so again there's another story. But I had to work full-time with 2 babies, like 2 and a baby.
That's tough.
So it did lead to just not good mental health. I didn't realise what we know now as burnout. I had massive burnout.
So is this the start of you leaving and walking away? Is this the beginning?
Put myself through it again, Richard.
Oh, okay. So it was the beginning before the beginning.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So
Yeah.
you're at this point where you've been in a school for a certain amount of time. If you started your family, you've got a couple of young
Yeah.
children, and obviously that's tough, isn't it? Like,
Yeah.
particularly that age gap.
Yeah.
So not only you're trying to juggle job and
Yeah.
or juggle everything that you have to do when you're teaching
That's it.
anyway,
Yeah.
and then juggling your home life at the
Yeah.
same time with
Yeah.
the young children.
Yeah.
It's not usually a good recipe.
No. Didn't realise at the time, when you're in it though.
I don't think you
Oh,
do.
and we were selling our house as well at the same time. We got married when I had my youngest. When we had the oldest, we got married as well. Then nearly 2 years later, we were selling the house. We've then got another baby. Yeah. But I didn't realise I got so ill, Richard. I mean, again, if we're talking like two others that might relate here, I literally within a 12-month period, I'd had bad cases of tonsillitis. I'd had gastroenteritis. I'd had really bad stomach flu. Just all sorts, and I kept getting ill and went to the doctors to say I got tonsillitis again. It was a Christmas time, so we'd broken up, the body's gone into rest.
Classic. Yeah.
And I did not have a clue when the doctor asked me some questions, and she said to me, "You were suffering with stress, depression and anxiety." What? I did what? No, I can't. I'm like, I can't be.
So
Can't be.
you didn't recognize your body was having a reaction and telling you something at that point.
No.
It was just, I'm getting ill.
Yeah.
Like a physical. Yeah. Wow.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So did it affect when we're talking about like these? Put the anxiety and the depression and that stuff to the side. That even when you was having like these physical symptoms, were you having time off work?
Yes. Yeah.
So it's actually stopping you from going to work anyway.
Yeah. And no, so I still got two babies really as well to look after while I was not well.
Yeah. So what I mean now let's bring everything else back into the mix, right? So you're having this conversation with your doctor, and your doctor's saying that to you.
Yeah.
What's your feelings at that point?
I couldn't believe it. I couldn't make sense of it. And I think back then, because this was crikey, I need a timeline, don't I? So if my youngest is 13 in 3 weeks, and she was about 18 months old. So we're talking 10, 11 years ago at least.
Okay.
So I guess back then as well, I personally didn't really know an awful lot about mental health.
Different times. I think it's changed massively the last 3 years.
Definitely, yeah. I knew I needed some time off. So I took leave. I took leave for a while, and but I remember wanting to go back to work. So where I taught at that time as well was about a 40-minute drive from home. So I was leaving the girls really early in the morning as well with my mom, bless her, who was also working at the time. And I got one day when I was off sick, and I was trying to kind of say to myself, you need to go back, you need to kind of get yourself back into school, you need to go back to see people, to see the kids, to get over this anxiety. And I drove to work the one day. I must have left the girls with my mom, and I can remember having a physical panic attack on the way to school. Got through it, got myself into school, and then broke down to one of the TAs that I worked with, and got home, and my hubby said to me, "What are you doing? You forget it. If you're getting in that state going in, you're not going." And he actually said to me, "You're gonna go. You're leaving. You're gonna go and be supply for a while. Do supply work." And I think that was quite a relief to me then, that he'd recognised I needed to kind of give myself that bit of a break, And I don't know. It again, it was the first time it happened. It wasn't the last time, because it's happened since. But I just stripped of all my confidence. I'd lost so much of me.
You say it happened again. What's the time frame between that episode and like the next?
Try and work out how old the girls were. So Molly was then at school. She was in reception. So Molly was 4. So about 2 years. About 2 years later.
Still quite a long time, isn't it? In between.
Yeah.
What was different the second time around?
I think because I'd recognised how poorly I was, and that I probably was on the verge of a breakdown, I think, if I'm honest, if I hadn't already suffered a bit of a mini one. The fact that Danny, my hubby, had recognised as well that he didn't really believe in mental health before he'd seen that I was experiencing it. You know, he's very much a realist. He very much he's a man's man. He just gets on. You've just got to pull your socks up and get on with it, you know, that sort of thing. So when he'd seen me physically and mentally suffering, he's then become more empathetic, obviously, and he's recognised that I need to, you know, take care of myself. So getting the support from him. The girls were a little bit older. I'd had a bit of mom time. I was there for the girls. So I think the mom guilt had eased a little bit as well, because that was a massive thing when I was teaching full time and wasn't allowed to drop my hours. The girls were at school, obviously close to home, and I knew the head teacher at the school, who interestingly was the head remember when I said about my NQT year, she was the head who I'd been to work for on my teaching practice, who employed me, but then left that school as I started to become head teacher at the school where my girls then went.
Okay.
So one day I went to speak to the lovely Jane, and I broke down to her and I said, you know, as a fellow professional and a friend, what can you advise me? And she called me into her office and she sat me down. I'd got my little Emma, there she was, my little toddler. And she said, why don't you come in and help me? She'd come and be my parent helper. So I did that for a little while, and she was so clever, because she kind of eventually, she got to a point where she said she needed some cover. Did I fancy doing a day's cover just to help her out?
Oh, I'm getting goosebumps from that. I love that.
And I'd been helping in the reception class, which was where she needed the cover. And with my nursery nursing background, you know, I hadn't taught in early years, but I'd been the nursery nurse in reception and nursery for 2-3 years. So I sort of, I reluctantly said to her, for her, because I knew, you know, she was being so kind to me, and the team that I worked with helping out were lovely. Yeah, and then eventually that led to a half terms cover. So just really, really slowly built myself back up again, started getting my confidence back, believing in myself that I could do it. Because, you know, again, a lot of us have been there, haven't we? Go, with, you know what, I can't do this. It's not meant for me.
You find yourself in this right place, the right school with the right people. Who's, you know, you've dragged yourself up, but they've also been a part of building you up, you know, very gently.
Completely.
I mean, really good, solid, strong leadership recognises what needs to happen at the right time.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I truly believe there are amazing people out there. I think education's gets a very bad name because of the stories that we have heard and seen.
Absolutely.
Because of the kind of groups where we met in.
Yeah.
And probably why we're here right now talking. Yes. But I know, and you know, and probably everybody in our kind of world has had those interactions with people who just know what to do and know what to say and can really help you. There's just not enough of them. So you've landed at this school where it's all good. So what happened between then and now? What's the next step?
So there was a change in head. Unfortunately, the lovely Jane who worked for left, and we had a headmaster who came, who was really supportive, very driven, lots to bring to school, but a very different perspective, I think, on the way he ran the ship. And at that time, we'd got 2 classes in year 5, but then we split into 3 groups. So I was teaching maths and English to the middle set of children, but hadn't got the class responsibility, but still wasn't confident in myself. I had a bad observation. I was failed on the observation I did with this year 5 group. So that was another knock to my confidence. And over almost 12 months that I worked within year 5 doing this maternity cover, the 2 teachers, the full-time teacher and the other class on my job share, brought me back to being me again, because I'd teetered again with my confidence. I really wasn't sure that I was going to get back in the classroom and do this cover, but I did. You ready for the next part here?
Let's go.
I'd cooked dinner. I'd been getting a bit of a funny tummy. Monday morning came and I couldn't go to work, so I phoned in sick. My mum took me to hospital. 24 hours later, I was having my appendix out. I was off for 6 weeks was the total I was off, and that included a half-term week. Went back, no phased return, and I didn't realise that, I wasn't physically strong enough to be back in the classroom, and I broke down at work. Went home. I remember my TA saying to me, forget everyone else, what do you need to do right now? And I cried to her and I said, I just need to go home and sleep. And she said, well, you need to go and do that then. So yeah, came home, got signed off with anxiety again. It was awful. And again, I'm kind of condensing stuff here. So took the decision to leave at the Easter because I was recognising I was getting really poorly again and I needed out. I couldn't put myself and my family through this again. Oh man, we'd got Emma, our youngest. She suffers with anxiety. She's not diagnosed, but we think she's on the spectrum. So we got a lot going on for her. There was a lot of change going on. And then Molly, her eldest sister's leaving. She was in year 6, so she's going up to high school. So I've left school. Molly's left school. All Emma's ever known is us at her school because she's grown up with us all being there from nursery. So we then had obviously a lot going on personally, like as a family. So that, yeah, there we go. But it took me a while to get over my anxiety again. But then threw myself back in again, went to work with a head who I knew as a teacher from a few years back. So kind of, a friend. She's become more of a friend since working for her. But she said to me, get yourself right. Come and see me when you're better. And I will interview you. We had to go through the formalities of, but she was another lady who was like, look, if you want to do this, I'm happy to give you a chance. And she got me back in and I managed 5 months and then that was it. I was done. Had a tough class. It was a very different area to where I'd been used to working at the girls' school. Behaviour, kids that I'd not taught as badly behaved as they were. And again, I just mentally wasn't strong enough to cope with them. Thought I was. I'd got an amazing team around me there. It was a 1-form entry school. They'd gone through a lot of change. My friend who had taken over as the headship, working for an academy, who'd got really great ideas to put things in place, went massively down a creative curriculum route, really suited me as a teacher, but I just couldn't do it. I cried in the classroom one morning to my TA and I physically turned my back to the class and I said, Tina, I can't do it. And she went, you can, come on. They're just kids, you can do it. And I said to her, I can't. And that day, my head said to me, because academy, it's your probationary period, I'm leaving it to you. If you need to go, we can end your probationary period. The following week I did.
Wow.
And that was it. I've not stepped foot back in a classroom since September 2018.
I do wonder whether there will be other teachers listening who are maybe at their second time around of going back. Need to listen to that particular part where I thought I was okay. And it took 5 months, which is still quite a long time. And now my next follow-up question would be similar to what I asked you last time. Did you catch it earlier again? Did you recognise the symptoms sooner?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that when you've suffered, it's much easier to spot, and I've always said as well, I think any mental illness is like a scarring. It covers up, but it's still always there, and anything, just the wrong trigger, and it can go again.
So that was the last time. And that leads you to setting up your tutoring business, is that?
So I said, I'm not teaching, I'm not doing it again. I need to find something completely different. Knew I needed some time out. We'd sort of talked financially and we'd agreed that I could have a little bit of time out just to kind of take time for me, just to get better again, get my strength back to where I needed to be, but also see what I could find. What can I do? Can I get my CV built? Because I think as well as teachers, 14 years I was in the classroom. I haven't got a CV. I didn't need one. I just filled in an application letter if ever I changed jobs, So I put together my CV, went for a coffee with my best friend one morning. This was about a month or 6 weeks after I'd left the classroom, just having a coffee and a chat. And she is an assessor for, at that time, a training company that she still works for, but she's always been an assessor in retail and customer service. And she said to me, we need a teacher. Because I'm teaching maths and English and ICT now. Shouldn't you know me and my maths? I can't do that. She'd come and meet my boss. I'm like, no, I couldn't teach adults. No way can I teach adults. She'd honestly just come and meet Tina. She said, what we do is functional skills. She said, you do that easy. So I went to meet her manager, who then became my manager. So I took this job on as this apprenticeship functional skills tutor. At that time, that was face-to-face because it was just before lockdown. So I was visiting lots of local centres around the Midlands. I was going to workplaces to meet apprentices, and I was covering level 2 and level 1 maths, English and ICT, which I really enjoyed. I really surprised myself that I could teach adults, but then also realising that that level of English and maths that I didn't really know anything about before I started delivering, really surprised that adults hadn't got that level of maths and English, you know. And oh my God, and the ICT I delivered as well, which massively helped me because I do like my ICT. So I really got my teeth into that. Yeah, again, so that's kind of the tutoring. I built a team of tutors there. Then we had lockdown, so we went to remote learning, literally within a day like that. I was teaching full-time remote, trying to get all my apprentices online, engaging them, which, you know yourself, online learning with any students can be quite difficult. But when you're trying to get like 16 to 40-year-olds to engage in it, who really can't be bothered because we've got this national pandemic, worldwide pandemic with the national lockdown, it was a struggle. Everything was a struggle. And I don't know, we just suddenly got really busy, which was great for the team. But it was exhausting again. So I was constantly on the screen, constantly engaging, you know, lesson after lesson, back-to-back sessions, group sessions, one-to-ones, admin work to do, uploading stuff, and got really tired, but not to a point of the teacher tired, like the burnout. But yeah, just wanted to start then something to help parents, because we've got this world where we're suddenly homeschooling and parents haven't got a clue what they're doing.
So that leads us to, like, this is probably my favourite bit, I think, because, well, I started a bit of a YouTube thing, but I wasn't really consistent with it. And so when we first started talking about it, I was like, oh, I love it that you've created something that you've been consistent with, and it was super helpful. Whereas mine was more games and fun and games, which I'm sure I'll talk about another time.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about what you created then, and where we can find it, really. Would be really helpful. People can take a look.
Yeah, so I'm Mrs. B, because I'm Rachael Benton, and affectionately just became known in many schools that I've worked in as Mrs. B, or Benton, as a few people would call me. But yeah, Mrs. B then became my name. It was the brainchild, really, of Emma, my youngest daughter, who said, you know, you need to do this, Mrs. B. And it was, at the time, it was Smile and Learn, because everything I did was about making people, parents and kids, smile. And then when they were learning while they were smiling, but then that was trademarked as another company, I think, in Spain.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So we sat for a long time kind of coming up with these names. Sorry, I've skipped on here. So the YouTube stuff, I'd started a Facebook group just as a community group for in my children's school, because on Facebook I'd been sharing lots of useful links for, you know, all the stuff that was out there from the BBC, the Oak National Academy, different links that were the Twinkle that had been shared for free. And I thought, you know what, we've not got a school group where my teacher knowledge could come in use here, and I could give parents everything they need rather than just one or two. So we set the Facebook group up, then said, right, half term October, should we do a quiz? You know, I was off. I think I'd got a week off. I need to do something. I feel like I need to engage. I wanted to do more, but I couldn't because I hadn't got the time, because I was doing my full-time apprenticeship tutoring job. And again, Emma said to me, why don't we record it and then we can put it on a YouTube channel? And I was like, no, don't be daft. People aren't going to watch that. She said, yeah, because then lots of other people could watch it. So, you know, before you know, you've got about 150 views on this video. start to go, oh, well, I could do a bit more here. Then what else what other ideas? Can you video me while I do this? And Emma's on board again, you know, putting all these just 5-minute videos out of sticky notes on the wall with numbers and letters and spellings. And before I knew it, we got like 300-400 subscribers to the channel. And then you go in, this could really work. So then I start getting inquiries. Do you tutor? No, I'm not a teacher anymore. You know, I'm not in the classroom. I couldn't possibly do that. I haven't got time because I work full time, you know, with an apprenticeship team. And then it was March last year, February time. One of my friends, also one of the school moms, her daughter's same age as my youngest, had put out on Facebook, does anybody know of a tutor we could do with helping Molly with a bit of a maths? And I read this post, you know, when you read something half a dozen times, I'm thinking, shall I message Emma and offer myself? No, I can't do that. I haven't got time. I couldn't do that again. I dabbled in a little bit years ago, but it caused me too much stress. Shall I, shan't I? Shall I, shan't I? Anyway, in the end, I messaged her and just said, look, would you be interested? And she's like, oh my God, I'm so glad you messaged me. I was hoping you would. So then that was it. I'd got Molly signed up. So then you sit and talk and you go, well, all these other inquiries I've got, could I do something remote? Because again, it was still lockdown. So started a little group, decided then on Shine and Learn. So we now Shine and Learn with Mrs. B, and that's Shine and Learn is the business now. Shine and Learn with Mrs. B is the YouTube channel. So yeah, we in the meantime, then I'm adding more videos. I'd got a friend doing some editing for me as well at the time. Bless him, but he doesn't help me anymore because he got a job, and you know. But it was
furlough's finished now, so everyone's got to go back to work.
Yeah, of course, that's it, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's amazing because one of the questions that I wanted to ask was, how did YouTube? I mean, like YouTube was a great outlet for people who wanted just to give things away.
Yeah.
One of my questions was, did it help you develop your tutoring business? And it looks like it did, right?
Yeah.
That was, get inquiries through that. And again, that's something else to listen to, like from a tutoring perspective, like how do you find people? Usually it's through ways in which we haven't thought about. So I mean, I often say, you know, Facebook groups, going out into other Facebook groups that are relevant to you. So your local residence groups or whatever you've got.
Yeah.
That's a great place if you're allowed to advertise there. But the best people who come to you are the ones who have engaged with your content. They already know about you.
Yeah.
It's that they're coming to you rather than you going to them.
Yeah.
And YouTube can create that. Look, like people will land on your YouTube channel, which is Shine and Learn with Mrs. B.
Yeah.
And I just want everyone to take a look at it, because you'll see that it's not like it hasn't got tens of thousands of views, has it?
No.
It's there and it's serving the purpose, and people are moving towards you because of it.
Yeah.
And we often in our heads we go, oh, I need to have 10,000 subscribers. I need to have, you know, thousands and thousands of views before even someone will consider you. No, that's not true. It's not true. The right person lands at that point, and they'll go, oh, actually, I really like this. I wonder.
Yeah.
And if they wonder enough, they send you a message, and the magic starts to happen from that point.
Yeah.
So I really feel like that's a really big lesson to learn. Like we often in our heads think, oh, I need to be this massive success before people move towards me. It's not true at all.
No.
That's a really, I think, a massive lesson there for everybody. Okay, so there's like the movement into tutoring actually came from being like moving from teaching children to teaching adults.
Yeah.
Gaining like a bit of space in your life, but also that confidence at the same time.
Yeah.
That moves you towards someone actually moving towards you without you even really putting yourself out there.
Yeah.
As a tutor anyway, because you had to put yourself out there on YouTube.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's now led you or put you towards starting up your tutoring.
Yeah. Completely.
Okay.
To this business.
To where you're at now. So tell us a little bit about your business as it currently is, like in terms of your space and what you offer.
Okay, so I'd already got a Facebook page that I'd started years ago. Just a little thing of sort of sharing ideas and tips now and again as a teacher. I used to do Christmas letters, like personalised, so I'd advertise that at Christmas time. not a massive amount of engagement at all, me not really posting much of anything, but this page was sitting there. So I turned that then into Shine and Learn tutoring page. So then I could share the YouTube stuff as well. So anybody that wasn't just seeing YouTube could see it through the page. Obviously then a good way to engage, so parents could message me directly through there. Then I use that massively now. Again, you know what it's like yourself when you're engaging a lot on social media, that can become a job in itself, can't it? So I've backed away a little from that as I've got busier, because where we're at now, like I said, well, I think I've had a couple more since we last spoke a few weeks ago.
Okay.
I think 27 students I'm at now.
Wow.
So full-time, last March I dropped from full-time to part-time hours, so I only worked 2 days a week as a tutor for the training company. That was really to trial my tutoring for Shine and Learn. Can I do this myself? Again, you know what that's like, Richard. You've got to give it a chance to see if it's going to work. It's not necessarily going to work overnight, is it? You've got to put the time and effort in. And financially as well, you've still got to have something coming, because we're not well off to be able to go, oh yeah, just give it a try, and if it works, it does, brilliant. If not, I'm bringing the money in. I was just looking actually earlier on today before we were coming on to check. This time last year, I'd got 8 students.
And now you're 27.
27. I'm just about to take on 2 new students who have recently been deregistered from school. So I'm going to have in total 4 home educated students from September. 2 I have on Zoom. They're up in York, so I'm in the Midlands, in Staffordshire. So they're about 2 hours away from me. So twins, bless them, they're just gorgeous. They come on once a week, and we do half an hour each, because we tried it together and it was too much. So they're up in York. So again, I've just found me through social media. So we do an online lesson there. I teach another girl online. Yeah. Kylie's in year 4, currently going into year 5. Mum and Dad want us to go to grammar school, so we're working hard on pushing her to have been doing year 5 objectives and covering lots of other stuff. And then I've got a real mix, of kids who the gist, again, as we probably all know, those of us who are doing it already, is that it's the kids who lack the confidence. They've lost their enthusiasm. Some of them because of lockdown, and that's knocked them. Some of them just because I've got a couple of boys who just don't like school. So there's a little bit of behaviour at school. So the one-to-one is helping build their self-esteem. So then again, much like you, Richard, you do some work. We play lots of games. We have lots of fun. It's all about the fun. Because it's to build that self-esteem back up, isn't it? And get them engaged in what they're doing and make learning fun.
I just think games are so underrated. And I mean, most games, whether it's dice games, card games, things like 5-second rule, don't say it. But just because there's so many elements to it. First of all, if it's a language game, if you're talking out loud, you're just developing language and communication and turn taking.
Yeah.
Then there's an element of competition.
Yes.
So you're developing resilience.
Yeah.
And trust. And like you say, that will all feed into your identity, your self-esteem.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I actually love the ethos and the overall branding of what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
And what you're building. I mean, again, another lesson. Look, I'm sticking at it for a year, moving from 8 to 27. That's an incredible journey in such a short amount of time.
It is, when you stop and think.
So obviously you don't have to share the actual figures of finances, but I know a lot of people are thinking, okay, so moving from 8 to 27, and that meant you've been able to go full self-employed. Is that enough? Has it covered what you earned as a teacher? That's probably the best question.
Yeah, that's true. I would say for me, Richard, and again, I think I mentioned this to you, didn't I, before? I made that mistake of, let's say, underpricing myself at the start, because you don't want to make it sound like it's too expensive. But I'm at a point now where, in the group I shared just last week, that I've bitten the bullet with the few parents I've got of students that I've had since the early days, of saying to them, going forward from September, and it's not in my nature, but you know what, I really feel like my business head has grown. Good. So I'm getting better at not being tougher, but just kind of going, no, this is serious, this is my life, this is my business. With my new prices now, and again, I don't mind saying my sessions are £30 for half an hour face to face. I've signed people up over summer at that rate, so I know it's not too expensive. I offer fortnightly sessions because I'll explain to parents that I understand with the way the world is at the minute, the cost of living crisis, that if you can't afford that a week, then the fortnightly option is there. I've got some parents that are weekly, you know, I don't know everybody's financial situation. I'm almost there. I think once I've kind of got all new students, because I've got a lot of students who've been with me since the start that are continuing, which is amazing. Then
Have
I will
put their prices up?
So the couple that was still low, I've not put them up to £30.
Oh, I remember.
Yeah, because I'd sort of put it out to say that as your loyalty, you know, it's hard, isn't it? I find it's an uncomfortable situation almost, isn't it?
I think that I think that's a quite established business model, though.
Yeah,
it's called grandfathering. I don't know why it's got that term, but what you do is you grandfather people, and you go, look, I don't know if it's because it's caring, or I'm not quite sure why it's that called, but it's like you stay at that price, or you get these incremental increases, which are still lower than what other people are paying. And you're able to say, look, it's because you know, you are
it's
a
your
loyal
loyalty, isn't it?
However, we have to make small
sure you
increase, and it's just like relevant conversations and appropriate conversations to have maybe once a year, you know. And eventually those people will leave and they just get replaced later on. You know, they still have a choice to make. I'm really pleased to hear you say about like the business head stuff, because that was the big thing of like the group itself was well, actually lots of us should just make it up as we go along, and we kind of understand the real kind of basics of business, like I need to take money, I need to sell I need to sell that much. But when you start taking it more seriously and you go, well, actually I need to reach quite a high number. If you say like your target is between £2,000 to £3,000 a month, sometimes that feels like way too much, which is what keeps us trapped in the first place. So for you, I can remember doing something similar, and I was like, you know what, I want to take this seriously, which is when I started getting out my old business studies books and my business degree stuff and going, what is it that I actually need to do? Like, what have I forgotten that I need to kind of get from the depths of my mind? And it was like, and I had the same saying, it was like, I need to get my business head on there. What is it I need to do? And then we need to get better at it, and the only way to get better at it is to practice those conversations, and we know at certain points we need to up our prices. What I need to know is, when are those points? And what do I need to say to either soften the blow, or don't worry about softening the blow, because it's still your business. You need to make money. It's absolutely not, you know, that we're juggling two things, aren't we, as tutors? Like, we want to help people. We want people to come to us for the support so we can help them. But we also need to be able to pay our bills and have a life around what we do. So
that's it. Finding that balance. And I think that comes with experience, doesn't it? I think in the group, for me now, I'm seeing people who are joining, you know, just recently, or are talking about where they are now. And I can recognise that was me 6 to 12 months ago. I attended a business networking meeting about 2 months ago, and talking to people in there with completely different businesses to what I'm running, what they're talking about for their business, which is quite generic. I felt, actually, I've been there and I've done that, and I'm a bit further on than you are now. And that's kind of, it's reassuring to us who have now been doing it for a little while, isn't it? But then it's good to share what we know and what we've learned along the way with the ones who are just starting as well.
I think the best thing I've heard about this isn't, these aren't my words, but someone else's. It's like going back and having a conversation with your younger self. And then you can, and that's pretty much how I tailor all of my training. So I was saying before we press record earlier on, like when we talk, or when I deliver training, I always have someone in mind who I'm talking to. If I don't have anyone in mind, I talk to myself from 10 years ago. Because I just feel like there was bits that I was missing, which I now know because I'm more experienced and I put myself through training, and there's again, and around other business people, which is so important, and it's underrated, totally underrated, not moving towards other business and different businesses. You just learn so much.
Definitely.
And that's what we do, And I feel that when you're at that point, just go back and what would I have wanted to have known at the point of that person's, asked from that point of the person asking that question, that perspective. Look, what I want to do, do you know what, Rachel, it's been so good. I know we've been on a bit of a journey in terms of where you started at the beginning, and
I have to pinch myself sometimes and go, Christ, that's been my life,
What an incredible journey, and also through like those real lows of like being pushed towards like mental health crisis points because of the job, and that's what the job asks of us sometimes. And I think many people listening to this will go just be nodding along, going, I know I'm either in it now, or I've been in there before, or I know I'm heading towards that space. And that's the point of the group, so we can start moving people away from it, giving them like almost like a light at the end of the tunnel. And I think your story does that, even though it's probably still quite a painful thing to go over and and relive.
But it's also, I know the importance in it. And I know I'm interrupting your thoughts there, I can tell, but I just want to say that I did find it really difficult, and I've been medicated as well. I'm not afraid to admit, if people, take some comfort in that, I've been medicated 3 or 4 times in my teaching career. And I kind of feel that there's always a trigger, isn't there? That you can get better, you can manage it, but it's recognizing the trigger. And I think the importance, like we said earlier, is if you can recognize that trigger early on to be able to prevent it from getting any bigger or any worse, that's
is great,
key, isn't it?
Particularly for those people who are still in that environment, and perhaps, but when this goes out, probably just about to step back into that environment with the start of the new term, and hopefully with like support from the group. If you're listening and you are about to start your tutoring journey, or you just started, but it's still like early doors and you've only got maybe 1 or 2 a week, just know that you can build something in the space of 12 months. That could mean you are able to step away even for a couple of days. Or you can get out completely forever, if you really want. And I mean, Rachel, you've said it, and I know I would add to this, is that whole, like, not everybody has the same financial situation. Like, go and have a discussion with your partner, your wife, your husband, and just say, look, this is where I want to get to within 12 months. Let's say I earn X amount. Is this doable for us? Can someone else kind of get, almost, not saying you should ask permission, but almost get that nod of approval to go, let's do it, which
completely.
gives you that boost. So I mean, look, let's move towards the end. What I'd like to do is almost give you a sort of quick fire.
Right.
Some questions. Okay. So, but these are still, I feel, quite important things maybe for us to hear about you, for us to get to know you a little bit better. We're going to stick for there's 3 questions.
Okay.
The first one is still about the tutoring. So let's say I could wave a magic wand.
Okay.
And I could propel you 5 years into the future. What does your life look like?
Oh, crikey.
Which is that awful question at interview, isn't it?
Yeah,
what are you going to be doing in 5 years' time?
Where are you going to be? Okay, so I've had a bit of a think about this, and when you're like, oh gosh, do I really want to say? Those dreams, isn't it? Right, we rent our house. We'd love to own our own home. So for us, that's a massive thing. We want a mortgage again. We've had one before. We would love a mortgage. We love our holidays abroad. I'd love to be able to say, next year, and then come next year, the year out, we can go back to booking those lovely holidays, going all inclusive abroad. But I want to have a massive social media presence. I want to be digital. I still want my face-to-face, because I love my face-to-face sessions, but I do want to build my digital presence. I'm not quite sure how, because I come over a lot of it again, I'm like, different ideas that I have.
I do. No one else will yet.
That's it. Once they get to know me in the group. So obviously I've got the YouTube channel, which sits there. I'd love to be able to do more on that. But because I now have the business to run, as we were saying earlier, I need over 1,000 subscribers. I need thousands of watch hours, which I am absolutely nowhere near. So that can keep there. It's ticking over. Like you said, when I look at the data on the app that I've got for the data, there is consistent engagement. There are people always watching. There's not a massive amount, but there's always people finding that channel and rewatching. That is it. Yeah, it's never going out of fashion, is it? People will always need to teach their children. But my main idea is an app. I'd like an app of some sort, and whether that is revision stuff, teaching methods. My massive thing as well, Richard, is helping parents, as a lot of us as teachers want to do, but that's probably 50% of what I do. And that's where I'm now going for my next path. So maybe it might be more, yes, the tutoring's going on with the kids, but I also want to offer parent courses as well. I've forgot to add in there, whilst during lockdown, I was on BBC Radio WM, BBC Radio Stoke, and also previously featured in our local newspaper as well, with the channel and then the business. So free, do you know what I mean? Free advertising, free exposure.
And again, like what we're talking about is not like them going, oh my God, this person's had 1 million views on something else. It's because you put yourself out there. These things don't happen by accident. And you don't have to be at a level of
like stardom or everybody really knows you.
No, people will grab hold because you're doing something positive. And question number 2, who are the inspirational people in your life? And you can talk past or present.
Wow. So I'm going to have to go back and say where we started, aren't I? Mr. Fitzpatrick and Mr. Bullis as teachers, massively. Okay. My mom is just, she's my mom. And that's mom and dad, dad's always been a grafter. Dad still now at the age of 71 in October works for himself. He's got a garage. He's got staff that work for him. He goes in full time. So actually, you know what, that ethic, dad, mom just being mom for being amazing. My hubby for just being amazing support, and my girls especially. You see, there's another story for another night, Richard. My eldest, who is home educated, we took her out of high school because she was bullied. She suffered mental health. So she's an inspiration to me as well because of everything she's gone through and to where she is now.
And I'm sure she would say the same about you. And like 20 years time, 30 years time, exactly the same thing that you said. So it's lovely.
Yeah.
Okay, the last one. Let's try and keep it brief.
Okay,
the last one,
promise.
right? The last one. What would you change if you had the power to change the current education system?
Wow. I would take away a lot of constraints that teachers have and give the creativity back. I think in the years that I taught in the classroom, which was 14, 15, I saw a lot of the creativity sucked away, and I became a teacher that I didn't want to be and couldn't be. And I think if we gave that back, I think that the children would get a lot more enthused for what they're doing. I think the pressures need to come off. I think the formal data and assessments need to be taken away, especially for our young children, because we're setting them up to fail a lot of the time, aren't we? Not to say that all kids don't, because again, personally, we've got experience of a daughter who is extremely academic and who loves testing. So that's a great measure for her. But then we've got a child who also doesn't perform well. So personally, we see both sides. But as a teacher, I just think, let's assess, but give us the confidence to know that you trust us as teachers and that we can go in a classroom and we can assess a class of 30 odd kids and know exactly where they're at without having to sit and give them a test to take.
Amen. I just don't think the curriculum's got enough space. Like if a child doesn't get something, and let's be honest, there's going to be 50% of that class who doesn't get it.
Yeah.
There's never enough room to kind of revise it and take them back through it again.
Yeah.
With enough rigor to kind of, I don't know, fill that gap.
Yeah, definitely.
And then on top of that, they're about to be assessed.
Yeah.
Termly assessments now is like that. That's pretty much a ritual for every school, if not sometimes more.
Yeah.
I've seen people do half-termly assessments. And then all that data as well. I mean, on the back of the fact that then there's assessment, they've also got all that data, which, we all know people listening who've left teaching or maybe still in teaching will know that feeling. So I totally agree with that. And the creativity part, whether that is creativity to be able to look at like the English and say, Can we be a bit more creative with it? Can we, or is it the maths? Can we do a more outdoor learning?
Yeah.
Because in the current climate, it doesn't feel like we can, because we're in this curriculum catch-up time.
Yeah.
And it's like we've just got to fire out as many of these lessons as we can over and over and over again to get them where they need to be. So that is the current climate for most teachers and most children, that they're going into school to that sort of environment. So I agree. But how amazing is it that when we get those children into our tuition, that we're able to provide that space?
Oh my God, yes.
And then the outcome is usually more confidence and accelerated learning through usually, and like I know in your case, sometimes half an hour a week.
Yeah.
But most of my sessions are an hour. I do half an hour for some Key Stage 3 children.
Yeah.
But same result.
Yeah.
Confidence, time to breathe, time to talk, time to discuss.
Yeah. That's it. Give them that back. I've got my first and my biggest and first success story from start to finish has been Josh, who's just finished year 6 this year, and he's been with me was with me from the start. Who was coming on to remote sessions, who hated school, really down on himself, beat himself up, can't do anything, I can't do it, didn't want to do it, no interest in any learning at all, to broke his little heart at the end of summer term when I went to his last session face to face with him, and didn't understand why he couldn't have me in year 7 as well, which mum and dad know that they can, but we all know that it's the time for Josh now. He's got everything he needs. But poor, bless him. He's my little protege. He's like a trainee, it's like I said to his mum and dad, if they need me to be his mentor for the next 12 months while he goes through his first year at high school, he can call on me anytime. He's got my number. They gave me a number, and it's that, isn't it?
It is, it is.
That's amazing to know that.
What a positive way to finish that, Rachel. I just want to say, I just want to say thank you, because
thank you.
It does take quite a long time to record, and even like the stuff before, like the questionnaire, to make sure that you kind of understand what's going to go on, and then I send you a list of questions to make sure you're prepped, so it kind of makes it all amazing. Makes everybody feel a little bit more confident. So I want to thank you for giving me your time, and also for sharing your story, which I know others are going to find really helpful.
Hopefully.
Is there this is the last thing, is there anything that I haven't asked you that you would like to share?
Oh my gosh, if I sit here and think, probably, but no, I don't think so, Richard. Honestly, like I say, I could talk.
We need a part 2 then. We'll have to pick in a part 2 soon. Let's get the season 1 sorted, and then we'll do a part 2 soon. All right. No worries.
Thanks so much, Richard.
That's been a pleasure. Thank you. And I know we'll talk soon, and I'll see you in the group over and over and over. So I appreciate your support in there as well. So thank you. Hopefully I will speak to you soon. Take care.
Good luck, everyone.
All the best. Thank you, Rachel. See you soon. So I hope you enjoyed the first podcast. There'll be many more to come. I'm going to make sure there are all the links below, so you can find out more about Rachel. You can go and view her YouTube channel, or any of her socials, really, if you want to connect with her. What were your biggest takeaways? Let me know. You can put them in the group. You can leave them in the comments. What other things would you like to have known from the podcast? Is there any questions I didn't ask that you thought would have been really great to know? Anyway, let me know what you think generally, and I'll speak to you very soon. See you later.